What is up? Welcome to the episode. Today we are going to be delving into the age-old question. Why is it that even though when we know what to do, we very often still don't do it? This is a really important question because it almost seems like a bit of a mystery, right? On paper, it sounds so simple. Eat healthy, go to the gym, prioritize sleep, save money, insert whatever behavior that you'd like to carry out. Now, the way that I structured this episode is via a step-by-step process to clear up this question for yourself first and foremost, and also as a once you pass this step, do this, and then move on to this step, implement, and so on. Reason being is, I want it to be super clear and concise so there is no confusion as far as the how to go about figuring out the why, but also how to actually create the change that you want. We're all well aware that a nice piece of salmon with some spiced up rice, a side green salad, and some fruit for dessert is a whole lot healthier than ordering in. So why, in spite of that, do we still order takeout so regularly? We know that working out and hitting our 10K steps per day has us feel and perform better, so why do we resort to living a sedentary lifestyle? We know that getting great sleep is basically magic, and it's essentially like wearing rose-colored glasses all day long. So why do we watch an extra 2 episodes on Netflix knowing that we're going to feel tired and a little grumpy the following day? First of all, I'd highly recommend listening to the previous episode of the podcast, episode number 190, before jumping into this one, because it explains the evolutionary wiring or human programming that has us make the food and exercise/movement decisions that we make. But here is a really quick 2-sentence refresher. Humans are wired to turn calories into babies, and the most effective way to do that is by eating more and moving less. The kicker is that our ancestors' food environment fit that wiring perfectly because food wasn't abundantly available and they had to work really hard to get it. However, now we've got what's called an evolutionary mismatch on our hands because food is incredibly abundant and we don't need to expend virtually any energy to get it. However, we have the same eat more, move less programming because evolution takes time to adapt and our technology has outpaced our genes. But for the sake of this episode, we're going to put the evolutionary wiring component to the side for a second because we're going to go a layer or two deeper. And the first concept or truth that we're going to acknowledge is that knowing in and of itself is not enough to create real world behavior change, which we just illustrated in the prior examples. But let's go through a few more to really drive this point home. Everyone at this point knows that smoking directly causes cancer among a whole bunch of other health issues, and yet some folks still smoke. Doctors literally see patients with weight problems that are causing all sorts of downstream health complications every single day, and yet many doctors are overweight themselves. Everyone and their mom knows that alcohol and other drugs are not health promoting in the slightest, and yet we still partake on a regular basis. How many times have you said to yourself, I know I should do X while you're literally doing Y? Like you're telling yourself that you should eat a healthy meal while you're in line at a fast food joint or putting a handful of fries in your mouth. Knowing something isn't enough to create change for the vast majority of people, and so the question becomes, what is enough? What separates someone who does make meaningful nutrition and lifestyle change from someone who doesn't? One or both of the following things is required in order to get started. The first one is hope. So for example, let's say that you are overweight, you've got some digestion troubles, and your energy is just not where you want it to be. In order to have the desire or even interest to take action and actually follow through, you need to at least hope that what you are going to do is going to yield you the change that you are seeking. On the other hand, if you've decided that whatever you do isn't going to make any difference to your weight, digestion, or energy, you're not going to take action because what would be the point, right? You know that acquaintance or friend of yours that you ask to go for dinner 10 times and they always say no? At some point, you just stop asking because you run out of hope that they're going to say yes. Folks run into this same issue via failed weight loss attempts. They lose hope and they simply stop trying. The second thing is a belief that you can actually make the changes that you'd like to make. So for example, you believe, or at least a part of you believes, that shifting your behaviors will result in the changes that you want. And it's worth mentioning that you don't need to believe wholeheartedly 100% with zero reservations. There can be some doubt present. That's totally normal, but some belief needs to be there as well. Also, I want to repeat this because it's really important. You don't need hope and belief in order to create change. They are kind of similar. However, only one is required. Both is obviously going to be better, but one or the other is totally sufficient. So, let's say that you're interested in losing fat and getting healthier, and you've got at least one of the two requirements, i.e. hope or belief. What's next? Now we're at the where is this desire coming from step. For example, I hear folks say all the time that they should change. They need to change. They have to change. And the truth is, there is no should or shouldn't. There is no need or need not. There is no have to here. The should isn't relevant because it's your life and you get to do and be whoever you want to be. The need doesn't fit because if you don't change, you're just going to continue on the trajectory that you're already moving on. None of your friends or family are going to die because you don't get in shape. And have to doesn't apply either because have to for what? Nothing. The reason that the where is this desire coming from stage is so important is because this is all a choice. And if you come from a place of I need to, should, or have to, it's not going to feel like a choice because there's some external ideal driving your behavior, and that isn't sustainable from a long-term change standpoint because you have to choose it. So now that we've put the shoulds, needs, and have tos aside, now we can establish what we truly want, or simply put, what are your priorities? We can have just about anything that we want. We just can't have everything that we want because time is a limited resource. There are only 24 hours in a day. So, such a straightforward question. What do you want? But kind of tough to answer, right? We're often quite clear on what we don't want. For example, I've used some online dating apps and it always cracks me up how quite a few women will list off in their profiles exactly what they don't want. It's like, no one night stands, no smokers, no short men. And they have like big red X emojis beside each descriptor. It's hilarious. I'm sure that men do it as well. I just obviously don't see men's profiles on dating apps. But point being, once you sift through what you don't want, there's still clarity to be had as far as discovering what you do want. Now, if you're still having trouble, I've said this many times and I'll say it again now. If you're unsure about what you want, just look at your calendar and your visa statement. They will tell you everything that you need to know about your current priorities. For example, if you thought that you wanted to get leaner and healthier, but your visa statement says that you hit a fast food joint 10 times last month, as well as your favorite bakery another 10 times, and your calendar doesn't show any time allotted to walks, workouts, hikes, or movement of any sort, changes are going to need to be made, right? Now, once your priorities are sorted, we're at the execution stage. And fortunately, going off of the title of this episode, You already know what to do, meaning it's just about doing it. Now, I'm fully aware that that's easier said than done. And a highly underrated and underutilized aspect around the action piece is accountability. And this is something that I've altered my view on in the last few years. I used to think that some folks were just fully internally motivated and accountable, but I don't believe that anymore. And I'll use myself as an example. I thought of myself as a very internally accountable individual when it came to my fitness and health. However, I was completely overlooking the fact that my business itself keeps me accountable. You also keep me accountable because I'm the fat loss guy, right? And who the hell is going to trust and work with an overweight fat loss coach? Walking the walk matters. Accountability is vital, and it doesn't necessarily matter what that accountability happens to be, but just that you value it. For example, it could be checking in with a friend and keeping them updated on your weight loss goals. It could be a family member. It could be a coach that you employ. The who isn't the most important piece. However, valuing that person or thing is. Because no matter what you are wanting to be accountable to, if you don't value it, it's not going to serve its purpose. For example, if you get one of your friends to be accountable to and you're sending them your progress pics and scale weight once per week, if you just stop sending them that info and you say to yourself, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Well, that's not valuing that form of accountability, and therefore it's not going to work. If you sign up for a half marathon and that date does nothing for you from an accountability standpoint, meaning you don't go on your runs, you don't improve your nutrition, that race as a measure of accountability is useless. So just be sure that you value whatever you put in place to keep you on track and honor it. Now I want to run through two super common mental pitfalls or roadblocks that folks tend to run into along the way, followed by the most important question or concept in this episode, and just in life, to be honest. So let's say that you go through all of the above steps that I've laid out, and then you fall off the horse and you don't get back on. The primary things to consider are, 1, your perceived payoff or payoffs aren't big enough. It's actually a really simple equation. If A plus B equals C, and the behaviors are A and B, and the result is C, and you don't perceive C to be worth doing A and B, it doesn't make any sense to continue to engage in those behaviors. For example, if the benefits of one of your relationships just isn't worth the effort that's required to maintain that relationship, it's just a matter of time until it's over. It's simple math. The input isn't worth the output to you. The second mental pitfall or block is that the perceived cost isn't bad enough yet, meaning you don't perceive your current situation to be quite bad enough in order to make change happen. We'll use our relationship example again. Perhaps a quote-unquote toxic relationship isn't quite bad enough yet in order for you to decide to leave it. So those are the two key things to keep an eye out for as you progress on your journey, so your perceived payoffs and your perceived costs. But moving on to the ultimate question, which is, am I worth it? And this is also where self-sabotage comes in and weight regain comes in, because we see it all the time. Folks lose weight, they feel so much better, they literally change their lives. And then they revert back to their old habits, regain the weight, and circle back to exactly how they were feeling, looking, and performing before they started. The reason for self-sabotage is because either on a conscious or subconscious level, these individuals don't believe or feel that they are worth the changes that they had created. For example, you say you want to get in shape. You put in the work, you reap the rewards, and then some sort of narrative comes into the picture, and you tell yourself that Maybe you got bored or you felt too restricted or whatever the justification happens to be. And the truth is, it's just lack of worth packaged in some sort of story or old belief. This is something that we're all required to work through if we want more. I'm working through it currently. About a month ago, I was walking down the steps in my apartment building in Playa del Carmen, and as I got out the front door, I felt the sun on my skin. It was so nice and warm. It was a Saturday morning. I was heading out for a nice stroll, and I just felt great. And then, feelings and thoughts of life is good were directly piggybacked on the thoughts and feelings of, do I deserve this? Do I deserve to have a successful business? Do I deserve to work from anywhere in the world that I want to? Do I deserve to feel content and truly enjoy my life this much? All of these feelings of essentially inadequacy or just, am I worth it? Do I deserve all of this? Came up. And I had to check myself and stay super aware, not just to self-sabotage in terms of carrying out specific behaviors that may have me feel less content, but also to be mindful not to self-sabotage in terms of my old thinking patterns. Because the truth is, I've worked really fucking hard for the life that I've created. And man, it has not been easy. It may appear that way on the surface or from the outside, but no one other than me has seen the early mornings and the late nights, working on holidays and through the weekends, the 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days, the hundreds and hundreds of hours of one-on-one therapy that I've done, the decade plus that I've invested in my business, the 500 hours of yearly learning that I do to be sure that I'm growing, improving, and being the absolute best coach that I can be. The selling of all of my stuff and hitting the road scared as shit with a one-way ticket, a carry-on size backpack, and a dream of living this lifestyle. Am I worth it? What makes me so special? I can't even tell you how many times I've had folks say to me over the last 4 years, you're living the dream. 2 people just said this to me yesterday. What makes me so fortunate? These are difficult questions, and they are all rooted in, am I worth it? And by saying yes to that question, it inherently requires me to do the work in order to live that yes, not just say it, because talk is cheap. And if I didn't really put in the work, I'd find some way to self-sabotage or revert back to an old way of living that I felt that I did deserve, because it wouldn't be this life. So, what kind of body are you worthy of? How do you deserve to feel? Are you selling yourself short? Are you settling? If you died tomorrow, would you have any regrets? What would you do differently? What do you want to make of this beautiful, tragic, fun, painful, fascinating, dull, mysterious life that you have? What are you worth? If you're interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. On Instagram, I'm at n1fitness. On TikTok, I'm at the n1fitness. And on YouTube, I am at Marcus Sadu. Please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform, and be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this episode useful, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.